All right.
All right,
Welcome back, everybody.
technical issues aside, we are so fucking back and so fucking prepped to learn about the War in Heaven 40k lore.
Yeah, that we are. Never mind the fact that this would be the third attempt at an intro.
And
Your
this,
technical wizardry knows no bounds.
sometimes I cast shit computer and it just works. But here we are, ready to learn, ready to
Clearly,
talk.
you
And
just need to pray to the Omnissiah.
I don't fuck with that guy. A Mechanicus killed my Lehman Russ one day, so I don't really fuck with them. But you know what? They did help me repair it, so you know what? Not too bad. But what news do you bring to us about this War in Heaven thing? What's it about? Why is it? Who is it?
All right. So since I did mention this to you, and unfortunately a recording of that part has been tragically murdered by your machine spirit not cooperating with us here. And yes, I will continue to make these 40k kind of in-jokes throughout it, so if anyone feels confused about stupid words here, they're 40k references. Very bad ones. But, what is the War in Heaven? It's the founding event of 40k. It's the shitty D&D backstory that's really only there to give some very basic world building so you can just get on with your very happy campaign. And it's probably got the least amount of lore for it, given how important it is. Every faction, but I'm going to say two of them, can draw some influence, whether it be they directly came from this event or were heavily impacted by its outcome. And I can explain that to you if you would like.
So this is like the founding fathers freeing us from Britain, but 40k, right?
No.
No. So we
It
don't
would.
have future George Washington. Very tragic.
Imagine if Russia launched a nuke during the peak of the Cold War and entered us into World War III and that war never ended. That would be what this event is.
Oh,
This is bad.
cool.
Actually, I take that back because I thought about it for a second, and that other faction that I thought about is directly impacted by this because they wouldn't exist without it.
Got you.
Possibly.
Russia, bombs, and the next War in Heaven, or the current War in Heaven.
The previous war in heaven. There might be another one, because technically, a war for a god could be considered it.
Oh, how exciting. I hope we get to have another War in Heaven. 'Cause it sounds fun, whatever it is.
It is fun. The absolute worst kind of fun. Fun for everyone that wasn't involved.
And hey, we were involved. That's pretty fucking cool. So, tell me, who are the major players in this War in Heaven?
So, the first and probably most important player in the War of Heaven is probably someone that you've never heard of. The Old Ones.
Yay, old ones. What do they do? What's their deal?
So, you're familiar with what the God Emperor was, back when he was walking around and Horus Heresy, Boogaloo stuff?
Yeah, just kind of a dude.
Not really kind of a dude, but like a demigod, bends reality to his will, all that fun stuff.
Important dude.
Essentially, the Old Ones were a race of him. And for some reason they're toads, or salamanders, or some kind of amphibian here. The art's not really consistent for 40k, as far as that goes.
So,
But pulling from the old world in Warhammer Fantasy, they're toads.
so they're just a bunch of like god frogs.
Pretty much.
Cool. And what do
And
these god frogs get up to?
they just go around doing things, being powerful, occasionally create a species here and there, interact very rarely with other people, But generally, just be powerful.
The vibes type shit.
Sadly, they do not have very many, if any, still canon named characters. I actually can't think of any off the top of my head anymore, because I believe the rest of them have been retconned out, or they might not have been canon in the first place, and they might have just been fanon.
Mhm.
And at this point in time in 40k, they're all dead. So, very fun faction. But then we have to bring on player 2. The good old Necron tier, and you might notice something about these very quickly.
Is that they're awesome and the best race to ever exist in 40k? My voice cracked. Don't know why that happened.
I mean, I wouldn't want to be these people. They hate themselves, they hate life itself, and they get turbo cancer
But
at birth.
oh, are these not the machine Necrons? Are these different Necrons? Do
You've caught on. These aren't the Necrons yet.
okay. So instead of cool robot limbs, they just have cancer.
Yes,
All
they
right.
have cancer because their planet was radioactive, awful, basically a death world. How life evolved on this one, I don't know.
Maybe the
But
cancer cells contributed to it. People are just born of the cancer, molded by the cancer.
I mean, maybe, but it's not like they really had options there. You can be created by the cancer, but the fact that they managed to last long enough to eventually become a spaceborne species, and not just any spaceborne species, but one that managed to get to the end of the Stellaris tech tree.
Dudes
This
out
is
here making
before.
space.
Yes. This is all before the War in Heaven. So, these very, very wonderful fellows here go up to the old ones, and they make a very reasonable demand. Give us your good technology, please, all of it.
Was
Not quite
this
what they asked for.
was it a demand or more of hey, I have a gun, I'm robbing you? Or is it
I
a
think it was more of a question. Like, hey, please give us some technology, give us some power here. Because the old ones would crush them. They are vastly more powerful. They reached the end of the Stellaris tech tree. But these guys are like, they've reached the end of Ascensions in Stellaris. These guys didn't touch the tradition tree.
I don't trust anyone who finishes anything in Solaris, because there's no way you have enough time to ever beat a Solaris game. There's no way on Earth.
Dog really said I don't exist. I have the achievement.
You can't exist. You're not real. You're
I've
simply
done
a
it.
figment.
I've done it because I'm not a coward like you.
I'm sorry, I go outside. I do things like die in Stellaris.
Touching grass is for fools.
What law keeper would ever need to touch grass?
The grass does not exist within my reality.
Only Stellaris and its tech tree and its very weird navy mechanics. But we're not here for those. We're here for the Necron, but not Necron. The Notcron.
Alright, now, in a plot twist absolutely no one saw coming, the old ones said no to that request.
Those bastards.
So, the Necrons, of course, countered with a better offer. Please just cure our cancer. The Necrons also
Give
declined
me
that.
1 second. Someone is calling me.
Alright. He's gonna edit this out. So I'm trying to think of something stupid I can say that he'll find in post-editing. But I'm not a very clever man. If you decide to include this in the recording, the Necrons literally just rip off Terminators. They combined Egypt and the Terminator, and it was probably the best combination that I have seen come out of 40k. Because it doesn't feel like the Terminators anymore. And you can still kind of see the ancient Egyptian influence, but it feels like it's new.
I return.
Alright. I threw some spice into your recording for you.
I'm so
Decide
excited.
what you will in post-editing.
I'll let my friend Jeremy do that.
Alright. Now then. So, I'm sure you can guess. What is the Necron response to being told, no, we won't cure your super cancer?
We'll give you our super cancer instead.
Uh, I mean, I guess that is technically an interpretation of it, but not quite. So the Necrons? The Necron tier. We're not quite there yet. Decide, in their constant infighting and other power struggles, that, hey, if you're not going to give what we want, and our very reasonable demands of give us this please, then we'll just try and take it from the Fallen Empire as a tier 1 civilization in Stellaris. I need to stop making Stellaris references. I'm making myself out to be a nerd.
I'm sure the War in Heaven lore dump did not peg you like that at all. It's Solaris that's gonna get you. That's what they're gonna shoot you for.
Yeah, that's what's gonna get me sent to the firing squad here.
In Stellaris, the space firing squad.
This is 40k. It was already a space firing squad.
True. But that's in like happy space. No, that's in sad space. 40k is
Both
sad
of these
space.
are sad phase. Where is happy space in 40k, and where is it in Stellaris? Neither of them have happy space.
Nah, my civilizations in Stellaris are always super happy. I made one where its entire purpose is to crash the market by buying up all the goods. And they're so happy every time they do it.
It's kind of funny. All right, but let's keep this a little bit more on track. We do have a time limit here, and I don't remember how long ago we started this. What's the time actually?
It's been 14 minutes of recording, so just keep going. I'll let you know when we hit the end.
All right. So, as I said, they declare war. A wonderful, beautiful war that goes absolutely terribly in a shocking twist that no one could see coming. The race of god toads managed to absolutely decimate the people that just have really good technology. So, what do when your entire empire is being destroyed? Everyone in your species blames you for it, and you have nowhere else to turn, no allies, and, well, you're basically just about to die, because you had cancer too.
You lock the fuck in, and you find a way to win.
Technically, yes. But let us introduce our first named character here. And this guy is actually still around and kicking in 40k. It's the Silent King, the one responsible for everything wrong with 40k.
Let's go! That's my goat right there.
So, the Silent King, he has an actual name. I can't think of what it is off the top of my head. So I'm going to check on the wiki, and while I'm looking for that, I'll go ahead and just tell you a little bit about him. Necron Society, Necron Tier Society, consists of somewhat interesting politics. Because these guys just die randomly. You can't predict when one of them is going to die. So, naturally, their hierarchy here is confusing and stupid because they don't want the person who's actually in charge to just have no replacement immediately. Especially since bloodlines don't really have a impact here. Because you die randomly, you die as a baby, cancer. You die as an adult, cancer. You gotta have some stability here.
Seems to be a
So,
lot of cancer going on, man.
Silent King here. He's the top honcho. But he's silent for a reason, because he only talks through people called Triarchs. Or, that's not actually the name. They do have named characters, and basically the two people directly below him, and he passes all orders through them. He can't order people outside of that for the most part. So, he doesn't really have power, he's more of a figurehead at this point. Kinda, that's my understanding of it. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. It kind of fluctuates between ones. Since they die so quickly, it's hard to say. But, he goes ahead and makes a deal. Let's find a weapon. Let's find someone we can ally with. Anything whatsoever. And what does he find? The Catan, faction number 3. Have you heard of Catan before?
I have heard of them once.
Alright. So, at this point in time, the Catan, as I'm calling them, or the Star Gods, as is technically the proper name for this point in time, are creatures that are hard to explain. Unlike the Chaos Gods or the God Emperor, they don't exist in the warp. They are solely based in reality. Something like, I don't know, you might have uh let's go with the Catan of death. The concept of death or people dying.
That just
Very powerful one.
that abbreviates the COD. The local COD. Our local
You
fish.
crush my spirit. I Man, why can't I think of any except for the Deceiver off the top of my head? Which essentially where the Chaos Gods are concepts in Psyche, the Catan are based exclusively on things in reality, and they're the gods of real space. So they are proportionally strong to, first of all, how powerful the thing in reality is. So the god of water is going to be a lot stronger than the god of Mercury. Stuff like that. Because there's a lot more water.
Right.
And for reference, there may or may not be an actual god of water. I don't remember them all off the top of my head.
40k is a lot more gods than I thought they did. I thought they kind of just had like 6.
I can think of 12 common ones.
That's a lot.
There are a lot. And gods work funky because they're working on a 5th Chaos God right now.
Cool. I thought they already had one.
They have like 4 different candidates for 5th Chaos God.
Okay.
None of them have become strong enough yet.
Okay. I
And
hope
some of
that
them are
one
dead.
guy from Warhammer 3 becomes strong enough. He was pretty cool.
Which one?
The guy who like betrays his city and turns into like kills the eternal bear. And he's like, aha, I'm gonna sacrifice everything I have to the Chaos Gods. They've all given me their favor. I'm some frozen prince. Haha. And he like
No,
just
he's
kills
probably
everyone.
gonna become a demon prince.
Good enough.
I think. I don't. Actually, no, he continues in the world. I forget. But no, that's fantasy, not 40k. There's a lot more chaos gods in fantasy than 40k.
Cool.
You have to be a lot stronger to be a god in 40k than you do in fantasy.
That makes sense. You're kind of only worried about one planet versus 40k, where you're worried about like thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of planets.
Also, for reference, I'm going to correct myself. The Triarch is the combination of the Silent King and the 2 other Pharaons.
What
The
is a
title
pharaoh?
of those 2 are Pharaons, the heads of the Necron tier and the Necrons. There's 3 of them, and they create the Triarch.
All right, cool.
Yeah. So, anyways, so they find these star gods. They're very interesting, and technically, they're even older than the old ones because they came into existence at the moment of the universe's creation.
Hmm.
And I believe that they don't create new ones like Chaos Gods can be created. They've always exist, though they can technically be destroyed without severe consequences, and that'll come back later. So, what do you do when you find these weird, mysterious beings? Of course, you make bodies of living metal.
What
Because what else are you going to do with these things?
what are we gonna do with those bodies of living metal? Hopefully
We're
nothing
going.
untoward, or terrible, or evil, or immoral.
I mean, I wouldn't call what they did evil at this point. Because they just put gods in metal bodies. That's a pretty reasonable decision. It
I
has severe
feel
consequences, but I wouldn't blame a faction for thinking that this wouldn't. What I
well.
would blame them for is trusting a deal from a person named the Deceiver.
Okay, so just to like put this in perspective, they found God, right? Found one of the gods, and said, "All right, we're gonna put it in a refrigerator." And then this deceiver guy comes along, and what does he say to him?
He says, "Hey, buddy, I got the deal of a lifetime for you. Since you're so great and you gave us bodies and we're allies and all now, we have the cure from your cancer and a vast stockpile of technology for you to have. Or technology is not the right word. They will give you the knowledge for it so you can produce it. They don't have it built up here."
Is the deceiver in a box?
No.
Okay,
What?
okay. I'm trying to
Did
figure
you
out.
watch BTS?
I did, but I don't remember most of it.
Alright, that's way in the future, and then you probably do know a good bit about this lore. At least somewhat, because I do know this is covered in TTS. I
I
don't
just
remember what exactly.
I just asked because was he one of the gods the Necrontyr put in a box?
Yes.
Okay,
Technically, all of them, but that's at the end of this.
okay, but at that moment in time, is he in a box?
No.
Okay, so they just trust this guy, and it's like, hey, I'll give you this fucking technology. They just believe him at face value. I'm just stuck on them putting gods in boxes and thinking that's gonna be chill. Like,
That's going to happen later. But technically speaking, he didn't lie to them. He just left out a very important part.
so you would
Where
say he deceived them?
Yes, now you're getting him.
Ah,
That's his
wonderful.
entire character concept. The deceiver deceives people. Who would have guessed?
Can't believe it.
Alright, so, soul transference is their solution. We're going to take your consciousness and put it in a metal body like ours. So that way you don't die from cancer. But there's a key word there, soul. As in, we're going to take your souls and eat them and separate them from your consciousness. Very delicious snack for gods. Mmm, yummy souls.
I'm sure that doesn't have
But,
any negative effects on mortals, though. Sure, the Necrontyr are
well,
very happy.
technically it's supposed to have had a negative effect, given the recent books from the Necrons that are actually really good, and if you're not a 40k fan, I do still recommend some of them, like the Infinite and the Divine. Very, very good story, even for non-fans of this. But at this point, it essentially turns the low strata of the Necrons into mindless machines. Only nobles and high up soldiers really retain any personality, and all of them are completely enslaved to the Silent King and the Catan. As in, they have to obey the orders of the Silent King
Why?
because of the command protocols. This is another part of that deal because he was having issues of disloyalty since everyone justifiably so, blamed him for starting a war with gods.
Usually not a great idea.
This was promised to him that they would solve the disloyalty by turning his entire race into slaves for the Catan. The Silent King, being one of the only characters in all of Warhammer to realize, hey, I've made a mistake, regretted this decision.
Oh my
This will
god.
not become a running theme for anyone else in 40k. Only he gets to actually regret stuff that is justifiably regrettable.
Shout out to my homie the Silent King. He may have fucked up literally everything, but he didn't like it. He's a hero. He's really a
This will
hero.
continue to be a running theme for this character. Fucking everything up, not liking it, but still doing it again.
I feel like that's 40k in general. It's just, we fucked up. What do we do? Kill everyone. The next people won't know we fucked up.
I think he tries to do that. But
How did I know?
let's keep going. So, I told you that the old ones here are essentially beings like the Emperor, and he is very powerful in the warp, which at this time had a very different name, the Realm of Souls. What do you think happens when you no longer have a soul?
Well, you probably die.
Uh, okay, to most people, yes, but soul transference, no. But you do have this weird resistance to the warp because it can't affect you anymore. Especially not the Necrons, because they built technology specifically to suppress the warp.
Oh, okay.
And they're black pillars, made of, what is the name of that Necron stone? Forget off the top of my head. It's very powerful. Everyone wants it, but not really important at the moment.
Hmm.
So, naturally, this actually does benefit the Necrons considerably, ignoring the enslavement part, because it makes them incredibly dangerous to the old ones who use the warp as their main source of power.
Okay.
The
They've
Catan, hmm?
they've got a way to fight back now. They've got some cooking in there.
Oh, they don't just have a way to fight back. The Catan have been given super steroids in the form of an entire race's souls. And the old ones have very little ability to fight back. So, they're losing the war now. Oh no, we need to fix this. And now we get to the part where the old ones, being on death's door and getting their ass handed to them, decide, hey, we should get some allies too.
Right. Friendship is very useful for winning wars, apparently.
Yes. So, they pick a species that has existed this entire time and decide, hey, you're pretty good psychers, or at least you're decent. Let's give you a hand here and join us in this war, called
Wait,
the
hold on.
Aldari.
What are psychers?
Oh, yes, that's an excellent question here. Psychers are essentially a term coined by the Imperium that is people that can access the warp and use it for their purposes. Mainly due to the fact that the average human in 40k has a connection to the warp, but they can't use warp powers from it. They can't shoot lightnings out of their hands or travel through space for it. So people that can are separated into a group called Psychers.
I wish I could shoot lightning out of my hands. That'd
I
be
don't
so
think
fucking
you want to
cool.
be a Psyker. It has a lot of problems, most of which caused by this series of events.
So if I kill a Silent King, can I shoot lightning out of my hands for free?
No.
Oh.
And the Silent King doesn't die. This is the only Silent King that'll last forever.
Oh. Well, I'm glad he gets to regret stuff forever, though, so that's positive.
Yeah. Also, maybe worth mentioning, the Silent King I'm referring to specifically, in case anyone actually cares, is a name that's difficult to pronounce, but I'm going to attempt it. Sazarek. Sazarek?
Sazarek.
Zarek? Zarek. Pronounce that as you will. I didn't want to attempt it, but I figured someone's gonna care. So there you go.
Sazarek.
Necron names are always hard to pronounce.
Good old Sazarek doing Sazarek things.
Yes, it is fun to say, but I am 90% certain we're both pronouncing it wrong.
Oh, absolutely. But it's fun.
Alright. So, they go to this race of relatively meager psychers, compared to the old ones at least. They're pretty strong by our world standards. And they go, hey, let's boost your psychic power and give you some technology so you can join us in this war. And they uplift the Eldari. Uplift might not be the right word. They boost their technology level here and make them stronger psychers. And
Alright.
you're going to recognize these guys as the Eldar.
I hate the Eldar. They're like
Good.
elves, but
They
worse.
deserve all the hate.
Shoutouts to Eldar
Ex-
players in the comment section. You
I'll
guys
give
are
an
evil
exception
people.
to the Harlequins because the Harlequins are cool and actually achieve things. But the rest of y'all lost your own trilogy and they didn't even bother to complete it. Sucks to
Trash.
suck. It's really sad when you lose so bad in your own novel series that they cancel the rest of the books.
They just watch the lore play out and are like, damn, niggas suck. Damn. And just moved on.
I don't even know if the Harlequins are going to have an army anymore. I don't believe they do at this point in time, and I don't think GW is bringing it back. Very sad. Deserved for causing a decent portion of 40k's problems. But we'll get there. So, one ally, though, is not enough. The Necrons have an ally. So naturally, the old ones need to have two so they can be better. And logically, uplifting one race is a good idea. But what if we made a new one? One specifically for war. And they made the Krorks. A nigh-immortal species that is incredibly difficult to wipe out, even if they are completely obliterated. A species that lives for war. A species that doesn't rely on the warp for its power, like the Eldar and the old ones.
These
They
sound really
use...
familiar.
Oh, you almost certainly know what they are. Just remove the first two letters from Quarks.
The Orcs.
Yes!
I love the Orcs. Good old Orky voice.
The true winners of 40k. The only ones having a good time. The Orcs. But we'll continue to call them the Quarks for now, because a Quark would obliterate an Orc entirely. There's no comparison. So, naturally, the war continues on. And with this many people, the war is somewhat even. They're still winning a bit on the Necron side. And everything is going horribly, because it's the war in heaven, and everything has to go wrong. Thousands of species get involved in it, ever so briefly, because they die very quickly. And, essentially, nothing really changes too much in this war for a very long time. It's hard to say how long. It could be 1,000 years. It could be 10,000 years. We know it's been centuries for certain portions of it, but it's just really hard to say.
So it's a really, really long battle.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
very, very long. So, the end of it, the Necrons are somewhat winning. Not heavily, but the old ones are forced to pull back because they're just not having a great time. So, our good old friend the Deceiver here thinks of a very, very funny thing he can do. Something humorous indeed. And he goes and tells the other Catan, hey, we should centralize our strength. Because everyone knows having fewer people is better than having more. So let's eat each other.
That's not where I thought that was going. I thought they were gonna say, let's just combine positions of power. But I guess eating someone else and taking their power is just as good.
Now then, what do you think happens when your armies turn against each other in the middle of a very major war?
I think you don't win the war. I think you just lose.
Congratulations. You are indeed smarter than many of the Catan, who are gods, as they turned against each other.
Let's go. I'm a genius. I always knew it.
Alright. So, this brought a very, very heavy shift in the war. As you might guess, the old ones are winning again, even though they are pretty much wiped out by this point. Their forces are still there with the Eldar and the Quirks.
Hmm.
So what do you do? You are the one person left. You've been betrayed by your allies. Your allies have then betrayed your allies. You're being killed by your enemies. Your enemies really, really, really hate you because you've screwed everything up. And your
Is
allies also really hate you.
I have one question.
Yes?
In this hypothetical, is my name the Silent King?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to lock in again, rally my troops, and win the war.
That's not possible, I'm afraid.
I'm gonna lock in and die.
Okay, the outcome is still better than that one. I'll give you one more attempt.
I'm gonna lock in really fucking hard
I
and
mean,
give up.
okay, you got it.
Let's
You
go!
have won the prize here. The
What's my
Silent
prize?
King. Nothing!
Yeah!
So he realizes, hey, we're losing. Everything's going bad here. Maybe we should leave this war while we still can. And orders every one of the Necrons, hey, we're going to sleep for a long time. I think 60 million years or something.
Mhm.
And he just orders everyone to hide. So that way, the enemy will think they've won the war, and let's just pray that we wake up in a galaxy that doesn't suck as much.
Honestly, I I don't respect it, but I fuck with it because he's winning in a way. No, he's losing. He's just losing, but later.
It's not a bad decision, per se.
It's better than dying.
It is better than dying. And given how badly they were getting their ass kicked after the betrayal of the Deceiver, whom no one saw coming.
Wait, he deceived them?
Yes.
Yo, what? I thought he was gonna come in clutch. Damn, bro.
Nah, he didn't come in clutch. I'm sorry.
Tragic. Truly tragic.
So, I'm also skipping over a couple things that I'll come back to. Like, I haven't even mentioned the Eldar gods.
Yeah, we don't have to
Those
cover
guys are a
everything.
little bit important.
Yeah, we don't have
Don't
to
cover
cover
everything?
every. Yeah, we don't have to cover everything. We just cover what we find interesting. If you find that
Oh
part
no,
interesting, we'll go there.
they're fun. I just want to finish with the Necrons first, because these are the bulk of the important part here.
Got you, got you, got you.
So they go to sleep, And the Silent King does his final fuck up for this period of time, where he removes the control protocols or the
Why?
command protocols. Because he's like, damn, I fucked up so much. Clearly, I just need to let everyone be free and go fuck off to somewhere else in the universe instead of trying to fix his mess. Because accountability is for people that don't exist in this universe.
Wait, I'm kind of with it though. He's like, releasing people from being slaves. So that's
Oh
good.
no, only the nobles are the ones who get freed from this.
Oh,
Everyone else doesn't have personality, so they're still slaves.
oh, never mind.
This achieves very little and only creates infighting.
Cool. The Silent King should not be someone you vote for. Like, if we ever have a democratic election and he's on the ballot, we should just take him off the ballot very, very gently.
It's also worth noting that he tries to come back and get people to listen to him, warning them about the Tyranids after the Tyranids have already arrived. And no one listens to him for the most part because he's the Silent King, but the command protocols aren't there, so why should we listen to you?
Yeah,
And
honestly,
he
kind of
achieves
valid.
nothing.
But he tried, though. He tried this time to do kind of the right thing.
Yeah. But let's go back to our favorite faction, the Eldar.
Woo! I love the Eldar. They're so cool.
Alright. So, the Eldar have been slightly upgraded by the old ones at this point. And we have gods of the Eldar. Now, it's unclear if these gods of the Eldar were actual gods that just got their power boosted, or if they were weapons that became gods for the Eldar. One way or another, the old ones were involved in strengthening the gods, whether it be making them and then them becoming gods, or just, hey, let me give super steroids to these gods so that way they're more relevant. But they created some fun ones. We have Cain, the god who's not allowed to win. He has a couple of victories, and that's it. And one of them was being carried by Cain, the embodiment of
Wait, being
luck within the
carried by
41st
who?
millennium. Cain, Caiaphas Cain.
Oh, so Cain was carried by Cain.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Caiaphas Cain, the imperial patron saint of being lucky.
That's my guy right there. That's my goat, honestly.
He is the goat. Great guy.
Really just shows up, gets bitches, gets almost murdered, wins the day. Sorry, gets bitches singular. There we go.
No, he gets plural.
Plural. That's
Have
my goat.
you have you no understanding of what he is?
I have
He gets a
vague,
lot of people.
I have vague understanding of Caiaphas Cain.
If anyone in 40k fucks, it's Caiaphas Cain.
God bless.
Ignoring Slanesh. Because she doesn't exist at this point yet.
I'm just gonna, if I ever get a choice, just gonna not know Slanesh exists. Just going to ignore that fact as hard as I can.
Pretty much. So, Cain. Cain is the patron dick god of the Eldar. As in, he is a dick to everyone. Eldar and other gods alike.
Hmm.
He achieves relatively little in this, fighting the Catan here, and, well, basically just being used as a power boost for Eldar fighting the Catan. I
Alright.
don't really care for him very much, and I don't want to focus on his victories here, because he loses so hard later that I don't think he deserves any wins whatsoever, except for
Damn.
Caiaphas Cain. Caiaphas Cain deserves them all.
So we
I am
skipped
an
the chicane to give the cane.
unbiased narrator here.
Oh yeah,
It's
I can tell.
definitely not me, I have zero bias against the Eldar whatsoever here.
I'm sure all the Eldar lovers in this chat are very, very happy right now. I'm sure they're elated by you.
But let's mention the other Eldar god that I do think should be mentioned here. There is also Isha, but I'm not really going to focus on her because her story makes me sad. Very unfortunate.
Maybe in a different episode.
Maybe in a different episode. But we have Kegarath, or Sheogorath. I like Sheogorath because I'm pretty sure that's the guy from Skyrim. But they both have
It
the
is.
exact same concept here. They're trickster gods. The Eldar Laughing God. He, technically, if I remember correctly, which I'm doing all of this from memory, I'm as much as I can. I'm looking up names in the wiki, but I'm trying to just go from memory, so if there's anything wrong in this, please let me know in the comment section. Not baiting for participation here. Yeah. I believe he actually helps the Deceiver come up with that wonderful prank. So, he is... How do I put this? He's funny. He tricks people into doing stupid things. He's the Deceiver, but not actively malicious to his allies. He's
That's
just the
positive.
better version of them, if only he wasn't so much weaker. But that's not his fault. It's because of what happens after the war in heaven.
And what happens after the war in heaven?
So, a couple of things. The old ones, they're pretty much wiped out. They don't really get to live long, especially considering the warp. This is where the warp comes into being. So, the Realm of Souls here. Very, very, very wonderful place. Before the war in heaven. It's great. You can bend it to your will. It's not very violent. The Chaos Gods kind of exist, kind of not.
I just
Hard
can't
to say.
believe. I can't believe we're talking about the warp right now. Not being a terrible, terrible, horrible place.
Oh, we'll get there.
How times
So,
change.
it reflects the souls of the galaxy. However, when souls get destroyed and consumed, it kind of hurts the realm of souls a little bit here. It disbalances it, makes it angry, unstable, unpredictable.
And what does that do?
Bad things, very bad things. Now, this combines with the rate of souls being created and the rate of souls being forced into the realm of souls, then ripped out, increases because it's a massive galactic war. So it turns the wonderful, wonderful realm of souls into biblically accurate hell,
Oh boy, oh boy, oh
otherwise
boy.
known as the warp, which has a very, very wonderful effect on our good old friends, the old ones, whose all of their technology relied on the warp.
Well, the warp not being the terrible, terrible, awful place it is today did not last very long. How wonderful.
To steal a joke from TTS, it's as if a group of hooligans have entered the old folks' home and murdered everyone in it that they saw, only for a completely different group to do the exact same thing.
Terrible.
Yes, terrible indeed. But also good, because the old ones are boring, and seriously, they really achieved nothing for the most part except for leaving technology behind in every setting they appear in.
I mean, they made the Necrons hibernate. So that's technically
No, they
something.
were pretty much destroyed by that point.
Oh,
Yeah, no. Old ones stay losing.
F
But
for the old ones.
we now have a problem. The Eldar and the Crooks are the only two real powers remaining in the galaxy. The old ones could easily keep the Crooks at bay, given that they created them, with their very, very powerful warp powers. And the Crooks having really limited technology. They use groupthink to create stuff, and they relied on the technology of the other people. Couldn't really do much to the Eldar in this current time. So the Eldar, of course, decide, well, we're the major power now. We're going to reproduce. We're going to build a
They're just
great
gonna
empire.
fuck. That's their
Yes,
strategy. Just
you're getting
fuck.
there. That is the other outcome of this. But no, I mean more so they're going to rebuild everything. They're going to try and continue their empire. They're going to try and conquer everything and hopefully create some stability for the galaxy. The warp is now very dangerous, so they have to be careful around it, but that can be done with practice. They don't live entirely in the warp like the old ones.
Hmm.
This is also about the time that Chaos Gods really start being truly Chaos Gods rather than just natural warp beings. Korn, being the god of war, has been pretty heavily charged up by this. I don't know, something about war in heaven making him stronger.
I mean,
Nurgle,
he's kind of the war guy. This is literally his jam.
yeah, he's not outright malicious yet, though. That comes in time.
Oh, he's not? I thought he was kind of
Oh no,
born a dick.
not really. The Chaos Gods are a very, very good topic for another time. But essentially, they're just embodiments of reality in the warp. So Nurgle is the god of, uh, Nurgle is the god of cycles. So he's known as the plague god, but really he's also kind of the god of nature
Okay.
because it's cycles of decay and renewal. Then you have Korn. He's violence, but he's also honor and other stuff like that.
Okay,
And
so
then
each of them has like a positive side and a negative side to them.
not all of them have a positive side.
Does my boy Zinch have a positive side?
He does.
Let's go! God bless.
He's plotting and scheming, but it's also thinking outside the box and strategizing and fate.
Yes. Zinch is beating the useless accusations.
Zinch isn't useless. He's the smartest Chaos God. He knows that if they win, then he loses. They need the war to continue forever, otherwise the Chaos Gods will die. If Chaos wins, everything dies, including Chaos.
And that's not very fun for Chaos, because you can't murder things if you don't exist anymore.
Yeah. But anyways, you may have noticed that we've only discussed 3 Chaos Gods here.
Yes, there are 4 of them.
The 4th one's not here yet. It hasn't been born.
Oh, wonderful.
So, the Eldar. They are now an extremely long-lived race. Their empire spans everywhere. They're still ignoring the Crooks, who at this point have essentially become the Orcs because they've devolved a good bit. They don't have the technology of the old ones or the Eldari
Do we
to
know
keep
why
them
they
going as
devolved?
much. I'm honestly not sure. I'm pretty sure there's a written reason, but it's probably something to do with orc spores.
Gotcha.
Because orcs can become Crorks if they survive long enough and go through enough battles. There have been notable orcs that are equivalent or close to Crorks.
Are those like the war bosses? Or is it just like very, very specific orcs are that strong?
Specific war bosses. Like, the Beast is supposedly as strong as a Quark.
Oh,
Gazgul is supposed to be close to an Orc. Very, very specific war bosses will be Quarks.
okay.
Or could be Quarks. The issue is because they were made to be fueled by conflict, they conflict being far less intense than the war in heaven, which should say something about how bad it is that 40K's conflict isn't strong enough to make the or the orcs into crooks. That should just tell you how bad the fighting in the war in heaven should be.
What it tells me is that the world's gonna get a lot more terrifying no matter what, because
Pretty much.
the orcs aren't gonna lose, right? They aren't gonna die out
They can
anytime
be.
soon.
They've been exterminated from planets
Yeah, but like
successfully.
as a whole, I've got good faith on them making it to the long run.
The reason they were made to be so resilient is because the Necrons could disintegrate them entirely. So, in order to fight them, they had to be made basically unkillable by any normal group.
Hmm.
You have to very specifically and intentionally, with a lot of skill, work to exterminate them. And the Imperium could do that at its peak. The Necrons could do that still. The Eldar never really had to,
Why?
for the most part. Because when they were at the peak of their empire, they could just deal with them. I mean, they kind of can. I assume that they could, but they didn't go through the effort of wiping them out. So,
Fair enough.
I guess it's just an assumption of mine that
So we'll just leave that under maybe and just kind of assume that they just didn't do it for some reason they had. That was a very good reason.
or the
Just
orcs just hid from them. That's also a unlikely possibility. More likely, the orcs got trapped somewhere and they didn't care to search for them.
yeah, I wouldn't want to go find like the fighting virus if it wasn't bothering me. I just kind of leave it alone.
You
And
know what? That's a very valid point.
because I mean, if they're that hard to kill and they kind of like respawn on their own, then I would just like, all right, they're on that rock there. We will take everything else. They can just have the rock 'cause I don't want to die.
So, the Eldar, at this point, they're getting kind of bored. We could have actually spent some of that time hunting down the orcs. Been a little bit of a help for that, but no, they don't.
Okay.
I think we can fault the Eldar for this, actually. They did a lot of other things with their free time. Hunting down and exterminating the orcs would have been useful. I'm going to not give them the point here.
But then we wouldn't have orcs. I'll give them a point for not killing orcs. 'Cause orcs are
You know
always
what?
pretty cool.
I'll accept that. The real reason here is GW wanted the orcs to still exist, and they wanted some lore for them there. But
Fair enough.
that's about it. On to the topic of Eldar not having enough to do with their free time. They are very bored. They start doing stupid and excessive things. They master technology. They're masters of warpcraft. Man, I'm really, really bored on doing normal medical experiments. Let's take a person's nervous system and remove it from their body with them still alive.
Oh, fuck.
This is
Why?
canon. This is not some implied thing. This is a thing that they've actually done for the fun of it.
Just
Let's
'cause
turn.
fuck it?
Yeah, no. They're bored. They have nothing better to do. Let's push the absolute limit here. Man, painting
Alright.
is getting absolutely stale. What if I made a person into a living canvas?
You know, maybe maybe boredom is the worst thing possible.
Yeah, no, these guys are delusional.
And horrible creatures like okay, I get you're bored, right? If you're bored of painting, maybe maybe like get a new hobby that's not torturing living creatures. You can play basketball. They can invent basketball. They can invent sports. They
Well,
can
I
do
have
jumping
some good
jacks.
news for you. There are, in fact, two factions of the Eldar, of the ones that are left, that agreed with you. Hey, maybe
Oh,
we should tone it back on this. We're doing a bit too much here. We're gonna leave. And those are the Exodites and the Craft Worlders. They
that's
saw that things were getting bad in the Empire, so they decided we're going to go somewhere else.
good.
And then the people that were left had a very, very tragic thing happen to them. They birthed the fourth Chaos God, and it ate all their souls.
Wait, who caused that to happen again?
The Eldar, specifically.
No, like which group?
The Eldar.
Oh, okay. Just all of them.
The Eldar as a whole. The primary portion of the Eldar Empire, with the exception of the slaves of the Eldar slaves within the Eldar Empire, and the Exodites and the Craft Worlders, caused the birth of Slanesh. It is entirely their fault.
See, this is how I know I can't fuck with the Eldar. They caused this terrible, terrible thing to exist. You know how horrible that is? Extremely.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely disgusting. It's also one of the reasons why I hate the Eldar, because they act superior in every circumstance, despite being the primary reason why 40k is as bad as it is.
Yeah, like fuck them, fuck those guys. We could
So
have
you
just
know,
had the cool Chaos Gods, but no, now we have the lame ones.
well, I wouldn't say Slanesh is lame. I know too many people that are horny for her. It. I don't know what
For
to describe that as.
he, she, it, them, Slanesh. Whatever the
I'm
fuck
just
that
going to
thing
call them
is.
Slanesh.
Fair enough.
But this has a little bit of a negative effect. The warp is already unstable at this point. All the Chaos Gods are there. They're a little bit worse than they were initially, if they weren't outright created by the War in Heaven. But a fourth Chaos God? That's what really makes everything bad. Because it just completely throws the warp out of whack. With all of those souls being consumed by one god.
Okay.
And so, we have the warp as it's supposed to be. The Eldar pretty much brought to the brink of extinction. Though, funnily enough, the Dark Eldar are the citizens, not even citizens, they are the Eldar slaves that managed to survive. Because they didn't get to enjoy the excess, so they get left behind by Slanesh.
Mm-hmm.
It's also part of the reason why they're so cruel, is because, first of all, they're appeasing Slanesh, but also because they got tortured for so long that they're like, okay, this is the comeuppance. We get to do it to other people now.
Wonderful. I'm glad that's what they get to do. I'm glad this is what they finally deserved.
Yeah. This also kills pretty much all of the Eldar gods at this point, except for Cain, the one who gets his ass beat pretty much everywhere. Kegarath, the funny clown, and Isha, the very, very unfortunate case that probably wishes she died with the rest of the gods.
Isha, that's the one of the Eldar gods, right?
Uh, Eldar god of nature, fertility.
Okay. Doesn't she end up hanging out with Nurgle?
Yes. Hanging out
Yeah.
is a very generous term for it. Um, People like to say that she's Nurgle's wife, but it's not consensual.
Oh, she got Hades.
Pretty much.
That's tragic.
It's worse than Hades, but
Why is it
yeah,
worse?
because it's Nurgle, the god of pestilence and plague. What do
Makes
you think he
sense.
does to Isha?
Very, very nice things that she's definitely okay with.
Yeah, we can leave it at that. I can tell that your sarcasm is bleeding through my screen.
Alright, so what we got next?
Well, that's pretty much all the major points there. All the Chaos Gods have been created, which leads me to the different factions how they've been created. I've addressed the Orcs being created, the Necrons being created, the Eldar factions being created.
So we
The
basically covered everything for the War in Heaven.
uh, there's a lot more to it that really is a lot of depth that's been there. Like, what did the Eldar gods actually do in it? And let's give Cain a break because he did have a lot of victories within the War in Heaven, as well as what the Eldar gods did after the War in Heaven, because they didn't just sit there for 1,000 years or 10,000 years or 60 million years, however long you want to say. I think it was 60 million if I remember off the top of my head.
Right, but it
They
sounds like
did
we got
stuff.
most of the broad strokes, though.
That is the broad strokes. You
Cool.
have the Imperium also being kind of created by that, given the Emperor made a deal with the Chaos Gods and the traitors sided with the Chaos Gods. Even the Tau were created thanks to the War in Heaven. Because warp storms hid them for long enough for them to evolve as the species, and ethereals are implied to be psychers.
Okay,
If you haven't guessed by this point, it's the Tyranids that didn't get affected by the War in Heaven.
that makes sense. Because there's not much that can really happen to them, you know?
Also, Golden Age humanity is wiped out by the birth of Slanesh, kinda, somewhat, I think. Because they are wiped out during warp storms that disrupt their FTO. And I believe that that's caused by Slanesh being born. Not entirely positive on that one, though.
Gotcha.
Probably should have read more about that before I tried to create a lore video on this.
Hey, that's what we learned going forward. I think we got a lot of good stuff.
Yes, and I managed to get to rant for
Yes.
over an hour about stuff that really, really should not have spent my time learning instead of studying in college.
Listen. Now you have two things: a degree and 40k lore memorized.
I did get the degree in the end, and that's what really counts with college.
Yeah, like if you don't get the degree, kind of fucked. But you did get the degree, so you know what? It's all chilling. It's all good. All right.
Now then, as the absolute determiner of 40k lore that I am, and a completely unbiased judge, this is all that you need to know about the War in Heaven. I assure you, I have left no detail out. I haven't sided with one faction more than another. I didn't ignore the many, many named Necron characters that I couldn't be bothered to remember their name, even though I gave them a shout out for their book. Looking
I'm
at you, Orican.
I'm sure everyone in the comment section will be completely happy with us talking about all the relevant characters, because I'm sure we got literally all of them.
Wait, I should have mentioned Orican. No, I left out the funny part, because this is another reason why the Silent King fucked up.
All right, you got 30 seconds. Go.
Alright, Orican is a diviner. He can see into the future because he does time magic. He was the only one of the Necrons who was like, we shouldn't do this. And being the person who does time magic, you should have listened to him. But everyone else said, nah, we're going with it. And forced him to do it too.
All
That's the
right.
quick of it. Just just a little bit funny there.
Well, we have learned much. I thank you for joining me in this episode. Do you have anything
Hope
you
you
want to
enjoyed
say
my
in leaving?
yapping.
I did. I actually learned some stuff about the War in Heaven.
Now I just need to do it on shitty Star Wars lore from the no longer canon era.
Yes, that will be most likely our next episode, and then we'll start having guests come on. All right. Well, that's our show.
All
Um,
right. Pleasure to join you.
any parting words?
Ah, Eldar stay losing.
Oryx, we need to get back to our Quark roots. Make Oryx Quarks again. All right, I'm not keeping that part actually, but everything else. Thanks for coming to watch the show. Like, comment, subscribe, all that cool stuff. Bye bye.
Goodbye.